You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey everyone, it's Walter. You know what? I decided to try to do a show tonight. It's actually a little after 7 o'clock right now. It is Sunday the 26th, I believe, of 2017. Yeah, this only got 2 more days left. February is always the shortest month. I don't think this month, I got to check actually. I should have done this before. Should check to see if there's a leap year day. No, there isn't. So this is not one of those occasions where you have a leap year. So, yeah, I don't know when the next leap year is, honestly. Anyway, yeah, I decided to do a show. I got a couple things. I was trying to get my friend Rich to kind of join in. I should have called Matt in case he was interested in coming over and join in. And I don't have an extra mic at this point set up. In fact, maybe I can just text him right now and just let him know. Because it's not hard. Let me find Matt. Because I have something I have to mention about Matt, too. It was pretty cool, actually. So, very cool, actually. I'm just going to let him know. Cast in right now. Because I could always do a voice thing over the phone, but I'd have to set up for that a little bit differently. I've done it before in the past. It's not too hard. Anyway, yeah, one thing real quick I just added in the last second is I went out with Matt last night. Matt Tarns, music teacher guy, 804-69. Oh, God, I can't remember his number now. 804. God, you know what? Sometimes I just automatically do it. So let's see if I can find his number real quick on my phone. I also got Ed Rick's number, too, 610-804-6968. Matt is music teacher guy. Not that it's actually done me or him any good. I don't think I don't get enough listeners to even help him out. But the thing that was interesting is Matt was telling me about one of his old students who was actually somebody who was, up and coming, what do you call it, musician, is that right? Entertainer. And her name is, or the name she goes by is Kappa, which is her last name. So, and forgive me, last week I did not only a long show, but also it kind of shut down in certain points, and that's on my laptop, my Mac laptop. I've never had a problem. I asked my friend Rich, he actually uses Audacity for certain things. I use it for podcasting. And he said, yeah, you shouldn't really have that problem. I've ran into issues before with Audacity. I don't know what the problem was. I just hope I don't have it again. So anyway, yeah, my friend Matt, he said it was one of his students. She actually seeked Matt out. He gives private music lessons, and the girl Kappa, who now you can find pretty much almost everywhere. She's actually pretty good, actually very good. She's got a lot of singles out, and we were discussing that last night. So I just wanted to throw something out about that, too. I actually was listening to her music while I was getting ready today. She's done some cover songs. She's done a lot of her own music, original stuff. She has an EP out right now. I found it on iTunes because I have that iTunes account where you pay, I think, $10 a month, and you get to download everything on iTunes. Personally, I don't like iTunes as much as I forget what I had before, something else, and it was intertwined with my my Facebook account. My Facebook account, the original one I've had for years, had gotten shut down. So, yeah, that actually really kind of sucked because I had all my pictures also affiliated with that. So, yeah, sorry, I'm looking at some stuff I'm once again. I think it's, it is boredom, I guess. What else can it be that I'm looking at stuff on eBay again? Anyway, that's pretty cool. Nader car, an actual live action one. Or not Nader. It's the red car on the cartoon movies, Cars. That's actually one of the few movies. I hate cartoon movies, honest. I can't stand them. And it's one of the few, actually. And it is Disney, too, on top of it, that I actually enjoy. I used to watch that once in a while. There's cartoon things of that. Actually, I got to adjust something. Oh, shit. I'm actually intertwined on something else now. Leave it to Walter that I have like 20 foot of cable and it's still not enough, even though it's right underneath my feet. It's kind of, messed up. It's my headset, actually. Okay, I just fixed something I needed to adjust on when I do my podcast. So, I wanted to mention about that, Kappa, once again. Very cool. Hopefully I don't have any dropouts like I did last week. It was awful. I was talking about one thing, and I was talking about some girl who was suicidal, and it kind of like cut from what I was talking about to this girl, and it sounded like I was talking about myself, and it wasn't actually. Even though I did mention that last week at the end of my show, that I have been in a down mood, more so than normal, more so than I've been in many years. So anyway, it was funny. Matt, you're going to hear a lot about this if you actually listen. I think he's the only person I know who actually does listen to me when he does have a chance, and the man's like very busy. So I give him credit. I got for me and Matt some tickets to also the Pixies, because I remember this goes back to when I lived in my apartment where I was offered all this music that I could listen to on a membership to MTV's, hey, we're sending you out new music every month of your choice of format. I mean, this was like 30 years ago. And actually, Pixies was one of them, I believe. Maybe it was only 20 years ago. I don't know, but it was a long time ago. So, the Pixies were coming around. I kind of waited to the last second, but thank God they did not sell out, so that was in my favor. But, one of the things I talk about a lot right now is because I'm going through the series at the pace I can deal with. Unfortunately, it means I'm up all night, too. Welcome back, Cotter. I say Carter or whatever, but it's Cotter, I think. I screw up everything. It's nothing new. So it was kind of depressing because I got a couple links that actually discuss the show, and a lot of those actors passed away. 2 actors passed away, or one actor and one person well known just today, or at least in the last couple days. It's kind of depressing when you hear about this stuff, because these people actually aren't that old. They're actually, at this point, literally about 10 or 11 years older than me, and it's like, wow, my lifespan's only going to be for the next 10 years. That's pretty depressing, because I really never did anything that exciting at all. So anyway, I was watching this one particular episode last night, and it was like, wait a minute. It actually, on Welcome Back, Cotter, had George Carlin in an episode. He was very young, so he was not recognizable, because when George Carlin was at his peak, he kind of had some gray hair, a little bit older, and his claim to fame was just, making those things on HBO of like what you can't say, and he went through the whole list of profound words. But I never pictured him being on Welcome Back, Cotter, so it was kind of funny to see that. I think that man Carlin had passed away quite a few years ago, so that's on the bucket list of people who have kicked the bucket. Robert Higgs actually didn't pass away. He played Epstein. He was a really cool character. He actually played very well as a supporting actor, in my opinion, off of Gabe Kaplan, who's still alive, because a lot of the skits, at least in the first season, and actually Robert, is it Higgs? He was actually supposed to play originally when he won for the role. He was originally up for John Travolta's role of Vinnie Barbarino, which actually the first name was different. I can't remember what the original name was for Barbarino. So that was kind of weird. But Robert Higgs actually, if I'm saying it right, the guy with the big curly hair, he was he referred to himself as the Puerto Rican Joe. And very funny man, but he looked a lot like, and he actually played it up like that. When Gabe would play these different characters, Cotter would play these different characters. He would act like Groucho Marx. Well, then Robert Higgs would play, what was it, with the Marx Brothers? He would play another Marx brother, and he did a really good job of playing up. I can't remember the names of the Marx Brothers. But it was like he was probably one of the best supporting actors was Higgs, because he did such an excellent job. I mean, what do you call it? Did a lot of impersonations again of Groucho Marx. I remember years ago they would show the old Groucho Marx when he had that one show. Harpo, like he would play Harpo, would be Higgs. Now Harpo really did not speak though, but he like did a cross between Harpo and some other characters would be Higgs, and he did an excellent job. I mean, those guys alone, like on the first season, kind of stole the show in many different episodes, so that was cool. But that one in particular that I'm talking about was called Radio Free Freddy. That was 1977. That was like the second season towards the end. And, actually that particular show, which this actor looks really good, was with... who was Freddy? Freddy was trying to look for the actor's name, because the actor actually looks incredible. He looks a lot better now than he did back in the day. Let's see. Now, it's funny because he's the main character, and the guy's not on the list of regulars, which he should be. Unless that's him, because he looks really good. Okay, it is. Lawrence Hilton Jacobs. He actually looks much better now than he actually looked then. Very well-known actor. I don't know. I guess he's best known. It says he was known for actually 31. I'm going to have to watch it again. That movie was so horrible, though, the Rob Zombie's new movie. But, yeah, he played in there. Lawrence Hilton Jacobs actually played in there. He played in some movie they said called Cooley High, and there was a movie which I thought was actually a cult movie called Sublime. I'm pretty sure, I thought it was, but they said he was in there too. Again, he's actually aged much better, and he's still alive, thank God. But he was very cool, best known for his character on Welcome Back, Kotter of Washington would go, "Hi there." He made he actually added that because his character really wasn't supposed to say anything at when you first saw him, and he decided like all that quietness just was not good. It kind of made him come up with this, it was an accident that he came up with like that, "Hi there," that came out of that. I think, because I remember seeing some interview with him saying that. Boom Boom Washington. So he was actually, they're all were standalone characters that were best supporting actors for Gabe. They actually made Gabe Kaplan that much stronger as an actor, because he really was not an actor. Unfortunately, the only one who actually made it big was, and he still looks really good, as John Travolta. But these guys are all in their 60s. So yeah, obviously they all came out of the East Coast. All these actors came out of the East Coast, moved out to the West Coast, and became very popular people. Now, in this particular episode that I was talking about, that the character of Washington was basically, it was his standalone episode where he had a really good supporting comedian actor of George Carlin. And Carlin played this character called Wally the Wow Wexler. So another one that was kind of surprising, most people wouldn't know, I'm actually watching in the background as I'm doing this podcast, was this actor named Fred Grandy, who played Andy. Grandy played Andy. Well, Fred Grandy is best known for being in The Love Boat. He was Gopher in The Love Boat. So he was really young, too. He played this awkward guy in Welcome Back, Kotter. And, it was kind of interesting to see him as well. The guy, it was like when I saw him, I was like, oh, my God, that's the guy from The Love Boat, because that's what I kind of know him best for. So, and again, if you have like at this time of 7:00, 7:20 at this point, you can. Well, actually, it just ended. I'm sorry, it was like 6 to 7. They show the old episodes of The Love Boat. That was a very popular show back in the day. I forget when that actually came on. 77 to 86 was The Love Boat. I knew that was a very popular show. I never really could get into it. It just had a sleuth of like different celebrities, though, The Love Boat. Again, that wasn't like one of my favorite shows, but watch them as reruns. It seems a little bit more interesting than it did back in the past. What I mentioned, by the way, wasn't the story I wanted to start with, but I'm going to mention it now. I was kind of shocked. I woke up this morning at the age of 61. Bill Paxton dies. So they said Bill Paxton has passed away at the age of 61. His death was a result of complications from surgery. So that's really scary, though. Again, Bill Paxton, I liked him for a lot of his film work, but he's now on the list of people who had just recently passed away as of today. Another one was Judge Wapner. He passed away, but he was at least 97, so that's a little bit more understandable. Bill Paxton, though, is a little bit of a shock. I'm trying to think of the one movie he did. He did a lot of, film work with James Cameron, like Titanic, Aliens, which was my favorite one. Okay, here it is. Frailty. That was an excellent, excellent movie. It was a very bizarre movie because the guy plays what you thought was a true-to-life serial killer, and he teaches his kids how to become serial killers. In actuality, the twist was, because if you haven't seen the film, I mean, the film's kind of going back a ways. I'm trying to think when that movie came out. 2001, so that's like 16 years ago. He basically kills people that were ruthless, basically killers themselves, serial killers themselves. Not like Dexter, though. With the character that Paxton played, he actually was a messenger, literally from God, that God gave him, according to the movie. He gave him the people who needed to basically, like God had gave him the message, listen, you need to kill these people because these are very bad people. And, basically our normal laws would protect these people because they got away for child molestation and brutally murdering people for no good reason. So Paxton actually was a messenger, literally a messenger from God, and he taught his kids, the key facts that God gives him these notes. And again, the movie was called Frailty. It was a twisted film, but a very good one. He did an excellent job in there. Titanic obviously was very, very good. And Aliens being my favorite film of the one that James Cameron also did was another one of Paxton's really good films. Now, a lot of people forget that Bill Paxton was in some goofy movies back in the day when the teen movies were big. I'm trying to look for the name of the one. I think it was Weird Science. I mean, that's going back, but he did like everything and anything. We said he was in Stripes as well, a movie called Stripes with Bill Murray back in the day. Yeah, Weird Science. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he did Weird Science. He played like the awkward, goofy brother who was the bully to the main kid. So he's played Apollo 13, True Lies, Future Shock, Tombstone. These are all his lists of movies. He's done a lot of stuff. Mainly anything that's affiliated, though, with Bill Paxton was affiliated with James Cameron. Most likely he was in there because of James Cameron. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Edge of Tomorrow, Nightcrawler, He did a voiceover for Call of Duty, the game, Training Day, The Circle. He did a lot of film work, and he wasn't that old, in my opinion. Obviously, The Terminator, Twister, Frailty, I mentioned before, Titanic, and Aliens, I mentioned those before. So, to me, that is a great loss for me as an actor, because I just was a big fan, literally, if I have not mentioned it before, of Bill Paxton. So, wow, there's something I had here, and I don't know. Okay, I might have to shut this one thing down. I have enough stories to make it worthwhile. Let's see. So that was something. Oh, actually, I saw this too, folks. Somebody put it up, and I never heard of this film. It had Mandy Moore in there. I think Mandy Moore was a pop singer or something from back in the day, but she played in some movie. I would put above actually a B movie. It's actually one of these kind of independent films, which was put out last year. I never heard of it. I don't think it was ever released. So it may be a late release. It actually might be released this year, either straight to Blu-ray, DVD, or rental, or maybe it'll just be, just a late release. It's an independent film, like one of these horror/shark movies, and it actually looks pretty damn good. And it was called 47 Meters Down. Now, it's got a listing of 2017, but the film was actually made last year. I think during the summer it was put out. And it says, two sisters vacation in Mexico become trapped in a shark cage. So this is the whole thing that makes it interesting. These girls, again, they're down in Mexico, the premise of the movie, and they do one of these tours. It's like this guy convinces them, hey, you can go down on one of these shark cages and you can kind of observe the sharks close up. Well, for some reason, what I've gathered from the premise of the trailer, the guy deliberately cuts their cord from the cage, and they land 47 meters down. That's pretty freaking deep. You got to worry about the bends when you go too deep. Like, you can't go up too quickly, or otherwise you will have the bends. So here there are not only stuck in a shark cage, but they're stuck down in Mexico in shark-infested water. So the movie is almost like one of those open water movies, but it looks pretty interesting. Like I said, it just never got released. So it says in Mexico, become trapped in a shark cage on the ocean floor. As their oxygen starts to run out, with great white sharks circling around them, the sisters must find a way to get to the surface alive. It's an 89-minute movie, so it's not quite an hour and a half, but it definitely, I was trying to look for it to see if I can just at least rent the movie, but I can't find it anywhere. Probably Rich, if I asked him, he could find it somehow if I was interested in that much. I try to stay away from, I try to support these people who make kind of films that you will never be able to see anywhere. So, I try to keep that open. See if I can rent it. So that sounds pretty interesting. I got some other stories. It might be a short night. I wanted to actually start with this story from the other day, and I'm not sure if I still have it up. I might have to reload the picture, because some of my stories are a little bit not on the nice side, more it's on the farce side. They're ridiculous stories that I can't believe this stuff actually truly goes on. I might actually have a short night too. I might keep it under an hour. My friend Rich said that he sees the length of my podcast and are ridiculous. They're a couple hours long, but it's because I always have a lot to talk about. Anyway, I saw something that's pretty cool. I got some wind on this new AMD chip called the Zen. I think it's called Ryzen. It's called the Ryzen chip, but the Zen architecture chip, which is coming out about now, is very cool because it's going to give a little bit of a run for, the Intel chip Core series. Give them a run for their money, because Intel is great at this point. They have been. But they've kind of gotten stuck now, like they've done in the past, on like, okay, we got these core chips, i-Core chips, i5, i7, i3, and they've stuck with them for like quite a few years now. And they've tweaked them, but the purpose of, a lot of these companies that are, into high technology computers is you kind of want to keep on top of your game and not just kind of get stuck. Like the Pentium name has been around for the last 20 years practically, and now the iCore has been around for at least 10 years. So, Intel is not about making new or, better or greater things. They're about kind of making something that is like really good or not bad and sticking with it for like the next 2 decades or longer if they can. So, alrighty, I kind of lost to make sure I am recorded. Okay, I am. So, yeah, so AMD kind of like back in the day, they kept Intel honest and, on top of their game. And like AMD really has not done much. Now, they bought out this company years ago from Canada that made graphics chips, which I can't remember the name of it. But the graphics chips were these Radeons. And before that, there was something else. I think it was, I keep on wanting to say AMD. I think it was ATI was the name of the company. So they bought out ATI or something like that, this graphics company, so they could actually incorporate AMD could incorporate a chip that would have a CPU/GPU. I forget what you call those, the combination of both. And Intel has done the same thing, but Intel makes pretty decent 3D graphics chips, but they're not like perfect. They're okay. I mean, they've gotten better over the years. I wouldn't call them like, oh my God, they're the best thing. But now, again, AMD has made I hope they make a comeback. They made a new chip called the Zen chip. And the Zen chip, the thing about it is it's a multi-core chip, which is, nothing new. But you're talking, according to this article, up to 8 cores on a chip. Now, I thought that the Zen actually is capable of much more than that. Like maybe, I'm going to hypothetically speak, Rich, you can correct me. I wish he was here. You're talking like 16 or 12 core chips. One chip with 16, 12 cores is fantastic. And they might even have something equivalent to what Intel has on the Zen chip from AMD of like hyper-threading. So if it does have something like that, equivalent to hyper-threading, which I'm not quite sure about the whole specs. I'm not up on that stuff like I was a little bit in the past. But just say hypothetically, okay, we have a 16 or 12 core processor chip, and it's got something equivalent to hyper-threading. Well, my friend Rich corrected me. They actually don't play their cores aren't quite set up, or their system's not set up quite the same. But if it was, it would be like 32. It would be like having a machine running 32 processors if it was. But they really don't go. They don't. Their core processor setup is not quite the same as the way Intel does theirs, because I remember that now thinking about it. But on this article I have in front of me, it says, well, the ones they're going by is the Zens that have 8. The Zen processors have 8 cores. So either way, it has 8 cores but 16 threads. So what does that mean? Well, you got 8 cores, 16 threads. You're at least talking a virtual machine of 16 processors, 16 units. Now, again, if Rich was here, he'd correct me on some of this stuff. Now, I'm not saying... Now, what I've understood from my friend Rich, and I had a text message back and forth with him one night. The Zen, the thing that makes it cool... As a single core, if you're using one of the 8 cores on this article, according to this article, or if it was a 16-core chip, if you're only using a program that's only going to take advantage of one of the cores, you're not going to really see that much of a difference. It's going to actually run probably a little bit slower, not by much, but it's going to run a little bit slower than what you're going to get on the Intel Core processor chip. It's not going to make that much of a performance boost. But if you actually have a piece of software, like say it's for me, like of audio audio program like, say, Audacity would take advantage of it, or GarageBand, or if it would be for my video editing, which I haven't done any in a couple years now, at least 2 years. I'm trying to look for the programs I do have because I thought I did download it again. I think it's Final Cut. I thought I had it on here. I guess I forgot to put it back on. No, I have it here. Final Cut Pro. That may, just say that program would take, hey, I'll take advantage of your multi-core processor if they made it for Apple, which they don't. A program that takes advantage of having multiple cores in a machine, the Zen would just slap the crap out of the Intel processors. It would like literally give it a run for its money. But here's the real knee slapper. It's actually doing it at like probably half the price. Because it says by offering a single-threaded parity or whatever with the Intel 1000 octa-core chip, it puts the $500, so you're basically for a $1,000 processor you would buy from Intel, in layman's terms, in Walter's terms, would only cost you $500 for the Zen. So, and those prices just basically drop because the interesting thing about AMD, their prices get much better as it progresses. Now, they did that with the Radeon. They made a Radeon that was actually 1/4 of the price for graphics cards that were 1/4 of the price of the high-end NVIDIA chipset things. Like, say you buy a video card from NVIDIA, it costs you $1,200. Well, AMD had made a graphics card for the Radeon line for like $300, $250. So their thing is they kind of try to appeal for people because a lot of people, when they have to do upgrades, if you want to stay on the latest and greatest on the hardware, it gets very expensive. So AMD tries to keep the prices very comfortable. If you want to do an upgrade every 6 months to a year, you can actually do it much more with AMD than you can ever with Intel or NVIDIA. And their performance sometimes may not be better, but there is a way you can actually overclock and make the performance just as good, if not better. Apple actually has done a lot of their newer machines, especially my Mac Pro, uses AMD's technology, which is the Radeon. So even though they use Intel processors, they do use AMD for their GPUs. So, and it generally, the reason they do that is because their costs are a lot more, affordable. So sometimes these vendors won't be as kind to the prices that AMD offers. If you get a branded name, like say you don't buy AMD direct, you buy through a third-party company that actually uses their chipset, they're going to kind of increase the price by a lot. So, but AMD does keep both markets of video and CPU down to a price that people aren't basically going bankrupt in doing so. So that's the plus side. So there was that. See where I'm at, because I will try to keep this within the hour mark. I've told people to please be quiet, and as always, they have to talk very loud instead. Yeah, it was funny. I'm going to read this right now. A friend sent me this video on Facebook, and it was this guy who basically cuts off an unmarked cop car, cuts him off on the passing lane by basically almost running into him and not realizing the person they just had done that to was a police officer in an unmarked car. So they got pulled over. That was pretty funny. That was on Boom's World, and it was like these videos people submit. Speaking about videos, and a friend sent it to me, and I don't know, my side of the story. It's about this girl. It's in England. It's the UK Daily Mail. There's a video where this girl gets pissed off, and it's titled she had enough of cat calls, so she gets her revenge. This girl who's riding her bike in ultra tight spandex, and it's like, no offense, I hate to tell you, but and the guy in back shooting this video is like supporting this girl, and it's like, years ago, if you want to ride your bike, you wanted to go running, because I remember back in the 80s, late 80s and early 90s, girls that would do that shit. They would drive, they would ride their bikes and stuff, but they didn't wear ultra tight spandex or something that basically made you look a lot different than you probably would look nude or, in a pair of shorts or, whatever. Women's excuses for wearing spandex out in public, their excuse is, well, because it's more comfortable and it's actually easier fitting when I run or jog or exercise, which I hate to tell you, that is a total crock of shit. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I apologize for saying that, but it's actually the truth. The reason they do that is because they want to draw attention to themselves. I mean, it would be like a guy running out in public with a pair of Speedos on or a jock strap and saying, well, I just do it because it kind of makes me feel more comfortable. You can wear a pair of loose, light. Remember, they used to make that material that, like, literally was like you were wearing nothing, especially in the summertime. A pair of loose fitting shorts that, you did have to wear something underneath. And that was acceptable. It didn't cause as much disruption with people as it does nowadays with the spandex. And a lot of times, I think some of the spandex that these women wear is actually a way of making them look better than they really do. So I like to, call it false advertisement, because it basically is pushing and pulling and lifting, because they have all these wonder bras, and women will wear that when they go out jogging. It's like, well, how do you explain that one? Why are you wearing a wonder bra, or why are you wearing padding on your ass to make it look like you have a more well-rounded ass? Because I see these advertisements all the time. It's like, how do you explain all this stuff when you say that you're just wearing this stuff because you want to feel more comfortable when you're exercising? I mean, it's like, it's just so full of shit. That that story of trying to believe that it's not, like, far from being the God's honest truth. So bottom line is, I think I lost that video now. It's not that big, but this girl, she gets so pissed off. Here it is. She gets so pissed off. She actually chases after this truck where these guys are, giving her cat calls and stuff. And she's got basically a sports bra on and a pair of ultra-tight spandex. And, again, a sports bra is basically, well, it's supposed to hold you in. No, I hate to tell you, it actually is a way of no offense, if a woman has saggy breast and you put on a sports bra, what's that going to do? It's going to push up your breast to make it look like they're perky. If you wear a pair of lycra spandex, it's going to make, if you have any cellulite or flabby ass, it's going to make it look like it's really, really, firm and tight. I mean, come on, let's face it. It's not holding things back. It's actually constricting them to make it look much different than what you really look like. Because I've seen some women that when they have certain stuff, even at work, these girls that wear spandex, it's like really tight. And then other times they wear loose-fitting clothes, and it's like, I really want to just quickly run to the bathroom and just vomit when they don't have on the bustier or the sports bra or the ultra-tight spandex. It just holds everything in, because it basically looks like a bowl of lukewarm Jell-O, or just a bottle of ooze, or a bucket of ooze. It's just like, this is really nasty looking. And it's like, the difference is night and day when they have the spandex on and when they have it off. So for them to get mad at that stuff, like, oh, I'm really upset that, you're stalking me, or you're, give me a look that is making me feel uncomfortable. Well, actually, no, you're making yourself feel uncomfortable because of the way you dress. I mean, you're a walking billboard that is not true to what you really look like without that, attire on. So that's my niche on that. I know my friend Matt, he'll hear that and say, oh, Walter, you're going off on women again. I'm just about if you want to advertise your body, go for it. But if you're going to advertise and get pissed off and you're doing what I call false advertisement, then you have no reason to get upset. I'm sorry, ladies. So anyway, there's this one girl. She's actually, I think she's really hot. She has a Facebook page. Her name is Nicole, and obviously she is a conservative, which makes me like her more. And I'm not saying that she's advertising herself as being a conservative. She's actually just her ways is, she puts these videos up. Again, she's a very hot-looking girl, blonde-haired girl. But she's just fed up of all this bullshit of people, being big crybabies or these snowflakes. So the one she put up that I have to talk about, this one video, is why spanking kids needs to return with a vengeance. Because she basically said, hey, I grew up, I was spanked when I was bad as a kid. And did it make me any worse? And it was like, no. And she said, we got this generation now of kids who have not been spanked, and now they're adults, and they're real basically, and so many words were less because I can't find the part where she, reflects on this, and it's like, basically they're assholes. We got an age group of literally these assholes, and this is a woman who is very hot looking. She's just like fed up with all this crybaby crap that's going on in our society, and it's like, you know what? I agree with her like 100%. I can't say any more. And the fact that she's open about this, she's not some fat slob who's saying, don't touch my vagina. She's actually an incredibly hot-looking woman who is speaking her mind, and she's actually doing it in a conservative way. So I'd actually say you need to, listen to her stuff. She's not afraid to express her opinion or or show herself, and now that is a woman I totally I really respect. Somebody who is not afraid of her body and is not afraid to voice her opinion, especially on stuff like that, political issues. So that was one of my stories. I am almost 20 minutes away from hitting my hour mark, so I'm going to see if I can do this. Anyway, there's another story a friend did send to me, and it was on the Daily Mail. And it was Hanky Banky is the title of it. Couple are caught having sex next to a cash machine, forcing customers to wait to take out their money. So, I hate to say it, but these people do look like your typical migrant / undocumented workers, literally thinking they can do whatever they want. These are the people who have that sense of entitlement. And you can watch the video if you check out for this thing on the Daily Mail. And it says, I apologize, a near-naked pair appeared oblivious to the crowd gathered outside the bank. Said they have taken place opposite headquarters of local education authority, led to an unfounded rumor couple where teachers talking time off-duty strike. I'm not doing a very good job. Bottom line, it's like they literally, you can tell the one guy looks like an undocumented worker. I think that's what they call them. And he's basically taking this woman from behind who is completely nude. He has his pants down. And he's having sex with her. And he looks like, I hate to say it, but the picture of his face looks like the missing link. Like when you see these, I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm being honest. This guy looks like one of those cavemen, one of those figures of the cavemen they show you in the museums. And, like the missing link of Lucy. He kind of looks exactly like that. So one thing, I just have no respect for somebody who just really has this sense of entitlement. Well, I can do what I want, when I want, whenever I want, because I'm entitled to this. And this person looks like one step below the evolutionary chain. And it's just, this is the kind of bullcrap that I can't deal with. I can't stand. I can't tolerate. So when was this dated, by the way? Let me see. It was published 1641 Eastern Time on the 25th of February of this year, 2017. But it's just, this kind of stuff is not only just appalling, it's just I don't know, it's pathetic is the best way to put it. Here's a story I found I thought was kind of interesting. It was from AWM, and here they used the word entitled, and it says, entitled woman who steals handicapped parking spot is taught a swift lesson. And there's a video attached. Basically, a truck pulls up, and they needed that spot because it was one of these minivan or vans where they have a bunch of people who needed to be picked up or dropped off at this hospital. And they needed to, they were basically handicapped people, a group of people. Well, the handicap spot that was designed for, to let off these people at this hospital was occupied by this Caucasian woman who felt like she was entitled to that spot more so than anyone else. So the rude awakening is that the van that pulled up was forced to pull in back of her in the video. And they had to basically block her in, and she was pissed off. And it was like, well, you shouldn't have parked there in the first place because, unfortunately, again, we have this society right now. We have actually a globe full of people who all have this sense of entitlement. Like they feel like they're entitled to do whatever they want, whenever they want. And they should be handed everything on a silver platter. They should not have to work for anything, for their housing or any stuff like that. So that is just like, check it out. Again, it's called AWM.com, and just look for the entitled woman who steals the handicap spot. You shouldn't have a problem finding it. Now, here's an interesting one. It's unfortunately another upsetting one. I found this also on the AWM website. And it's titled, 12-year-old is taken to hospital after her stomach won't stop growing. The truth is horrifying. A 12-year-old little girl. She looks 12 years old. It says a 40-year-old man has been arrested in China after hospital staff treating his pregnant wife determined she is only 12 years old. Well, the guy, a 40-year-old man in China, the man had initially claimed that his wife was 20 years old. You can clearly look at the pictures they show of this little kid. There is no way she even remotely looks like actually younger than 12 years old. He basically impregnated a 12-year-old little girl. So, fortunately, in China, when stuff like this happens, this will not be a slap on the wrist and pushed under the rug. This is actually going to have some serious consequences. The man had initially claimed, again, that it was his 20-year-old wife. After taking her to the hospital when she went into labor, also accompanying the couple was an older woman he claimed was his mother. So it's a very gross story. But yeah, I mean, I hate to tell you, in those kind of countries like China, you either get flogged or probably death penalty for severe consequences like this. Like if it happens in our country, it's generally, especially if the shoe was on the other foot, meaning that it was a woman who got impregnated by a 12-year-old boy, generally it just gets kind of like a slap on the wrist, maybe a small fine of a couple $1,000s. But I hate to tell you, I haven't read this whole story, but I guarantee in China, this would be this situation would be taken care of in a different way than in the U.S. So here was one I just didn't understand. This was also, by the way, from AWM, American Web Media. So this one was interesting, too, because I didn't actually pay attention too closely. I just thought it was a regular story. Why are you making a big deal out of a woman who is on Facebook showing pictures of her pregnancy, of how far along she is pregnant? It says, mom posts pictures of her baby bump. Cops are hunting her down for what is in the background. So I didn't pay attention, so I had to read a little bit into this. The reason this one hit to AWM, by the way, is because this is a woman from North Carolina. She snaps pictures and she puts up on the social media of Facebook. Reason she gets pulled because she's a heroin addict and she actually's got the band on her arm, and she's got the track marks on her arm in the picture, which I actually don't see. I guess they do a close-up, where she is literally, not only she obviously very pregnant, but she's also still still doing drugs as she's in like her what trimester would that what part would she be? Because she's actually very big. She's like very pregnant. She could be in her last trimester. So 26-year-old expectant mother had a tie on her crooked of her arm. So it says Natasha Kirkland, not Natasha as her family profile stated, was arrested on February 19th. So because she's facing charges on this one, because she's actually doing, she's shooting up drug paraphernalia as she's pregnant, and not just a little bit. Like, she's really far along. So that, that's what got, like, I didn't even notice. It was like, okay, I've seen this before. Women like to show off that, oh, look how pregnant I am. I'm so proud of myself. And this woman was doing it, and she was actually shooting heroin up at the same time. So, it's just, and I'm sure, I can't prove it, Matt, but if Matt listens to this, but I'm sure this is one of these situations. These women, she's Caucasian too. Just to set the record straight. I'm sure it's one of these situations, by the way, that, she's basically living off of government assistance and food stamps, and, hey, I'm entitled. If I want to shoot up and I got myself pregnant, who's going to stop me? You're not carrying a baby. I am. Yeah, but, if you got yourself that far, you could have dealt with the situation beforehand if you're a drug addict and basically aborted the baby before it got too far. And, yeah, I do believe in abortion in certain situations. And this would probably be almost one of them. She should have got an abortion way ahead of time. Hey, if I'm a drug user, why bring, because that child's going to be born addicted to drugs, especially heroin. Anyway, there was some other story a friend Todd had sent me, Todd Thomas from Fox5NewYork.com or Fox5NY.com. And it says, I wonder if it's New Jersey, though, because it's lowercase. I don't know. Anyway, it says, town considering paid sex breaks to improve workers' health is the name of the story. But this is actually in Denmark. I was making the joke, Sweden. A politician in northern Sweden wants to list sex as an officially approved activity for civil servants during their daily paid lunch breaks. I mean, it actually wouldn't serve me any purpose because I'm not getting any. I have really never gotten any. If you count on one hand the amount of times I possibly encountered anything such as a female partner. So, hey, if they include, a decent-looking woman in the mix, then I would probably be all for that in this country, But obviously that's not going to happen. I mean, it would be nice, but let's face it. It's one of these things that as much as I would like it to happen, let's face it, it's not going to happen to me. Even if it was approved in this country. But no, that was in Denmark. I mean, I swear, I think prostitution in Denmark is actually legal too. I should probably just at this point, I should just move to Denmark because, one, I would be guaranteed that if I can't get it like legally, well, it would be illegal. So that's not the proper term to use. But if I can't get sex otherwise, at least I could pay for it, and it would be legal. I could actually maybe write it off. Well, no, I guess I can't. I'd say I would write it off my taxes if I could too. I heard this joke. I mean, it's a welcome back Carter thing. The guy, the principal, Woodman or whatever his name is, he made this joke, and I try to say this to a friend, and it was like, yeah, I get wrapped up in the certain shows. So the character of Woodman kind of reminded my dad. He says, he's like he's never been married. He's very cheap. The vice principal, I should say. He's not principal. He's vice principal. Woodman, I think that's his name. And he says, you know what? He says, I admit to being cheap. And not only do I admit to it, I'm proud of it because he said one time I found this diner who serves 38-cent lunch or breakfast specials. And I figured out a way, if I sit on this bent stool or wobbly stool, that I can actually get a discount on my lunch, my breakfast, the breakfast special that's 38 cents. And it's like, yeah, I told my mother that, and she started laughing, and she says, yeah, because I said, that's like my father. He's so cheap. If he could actually get a discount on a 38-cent breakfast, he would do it. If he could get a discount on 38 cents, he would do it if he could find it cheaper. So, yeah, I mean, I thought it was kind of funny, the joke. I just, that came out of nowhere. I know my comments or side stories literally are side stories because they come out of absolutely nowhere. But that one actually was just, it got to me, and I just had to mention. I just thought of it now. And I'm running out of time because I'm almost at an hour mark. So my friend Rich doesn't understand. Me doing an hour show is like really hard because they generally go a lot longer. So anyway, I'm going to see if I can find this. But I got this email on like these different comic books. There's a new one somebody put out. And I posted on Facebook because it was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen or saw. Seen saw. So I'm trying to look for it now. Yeah, it's got to be in my list of stories. Yeah, it was. Oh, let's see, because I got a couple different stories. It's got to be on my newer ones. But okay, here we go. I basically uploaded the pictures because they gave you the first couple pages. Okay, there's a comic book coming out, or is out, and it's called Snot Girl. So it's like this alternative-looking chick. She's got green hair. And literally, Volume 1, the character has green snot coming out of her nose. That's the whole premise of this comic book, this graphic novel, basically. So, yeah, there is a graphic novel with some hot-looking, graphic novel chick. And the whole premise of the character is she's got green snot coming out of her nose. I mean, who would, in their right mind, would come up with something as silly as that? I mean, it definitely caught my attention, I'll tell you that much. Snot Girl. So I thought that was pretty funny. And yeah, I got the first couple pages up on my Facebook page and also on my Twitter account. Now, here's something interesting from Breitbart. Now, it's going to not be the same because not that I ever watched him or looked at him for his articles, was that Milo is no longer part of Breitbart. So I hope they kind of reconsider bringing him back once everything kind of calms down. I think her move on to better things anyway. So anyway, Breitbart had this story. It says Starbucks brand crashes after announcement of plan to hire 10,000 Muslim refugees. So that actually, the millennials, the snowflakes, love Starbucks. I love Starbucks. It's so costly. I don't know how they can afford it, these millennials. So it says the Starbucks coffee brand has taken a major hit since the company's announcement that it would hire 10,000 Muslim refugees in response to President Donald Trump's temporary travel basically banned in January. So their retaliation was, okay, so you want to get rid of all these refugees? Well, guess what? We're going to hire them to work at our store. Well, guess what that did for them? It basically crashed their business. Like now people don't want to go into Starbucks. So I guess their boycott on Trump has created a bigger boycott to their company, so to speak. So good for them, good for you. Okay, I am heading up to an hour, so I got to cut this very short and just go through these stories in the next couple of minutes. Some interesting stories from comicbookmovie.com. Marvel Comics editor-in-chief teases a new Hawk/Wolverine hybrid. So that will be, actually I see it right now. There's a picture of that for the graphic novel world people, comic books. There will be literally, if that's a word. I mean, it's for a comic book. I know. Matt's going to bust me. It's a comic book. But, comics and geeks, the geek trend is in because of Big Bang Theory, and there's a lot of young-looking women that are very hot that are also geeks, very hot-looking geeks. And you got the regular standard geeks like myself and my friend Rich and some other geeks like probably Ryan Logston. We're the typical geeks. But, so there's going to be a Hawk/Wolverine hybrid. Looks pretty interesting. I don't read comics, because that means I'd have to read them. The pictures you have to actually read comic books. You can't just look at the pictures. Another interesting thing in the comic book world from comicbookmovie.com, it says, will Patrick Stewart appear in Deadpool 2? So there's an article on that. I'm not going to go into it because I got at my hour mark. So if you want to read it, go to comicbookmovie.com and find out if it's going to happen or not. Another story real quick on a different note. I think my friend Todd sent this to me. PIX-11, suspect in Amber Alert, fatal stabbing, was previously deported. ICE confirms, something about ICE. I think there was that whole thing, propaganda going on with Obama back in the day. This was in Pennsylvania, by the way. Bridgeport, Connecticut, a Connecticut man accused of killing his girlfriend and sparking an Amber Alert when he took off with their 6-year-old daughter, was previously deported, immigration officials said on Friday. Well, this ended up going down to, they called, or said whatever, in Pennsylvania, I assume. This person, a citizen of El Salvador, was issued a final order of removal by immigration judge on October 29th, 201. It says, just literally, it says 201. They didn't finish it out. Spokesman Sean Nader or something told Fox 61. So this guy was basically removed for basically murdering some, I guess, girlfriend or wife and stealing the child, and he got deported, and now he is on his final deportation. I'm kind of giving you the rough view of this, which is probably totally wrong, but you get the drift, I think. So you can read that either on my Facebook page or just look for a story that, once again, is titled what I just read. Suspect in Amber Alert / fatal stabbing was previously deported / whatever, ICE confirms. So you can find that story and read it. Now, here's a story I wanted to talk about, a very lighthearted, very cute story. It's not my normal list on my normal list, but I needed to mention this because I thought it was very cool. From the New York Post, couple with Down syndrome celebrate their 22nd year of marriage. Very cute couple. They obviously have the traits of having Down syndrome, but they've been happily married for 22 years. That's a very cute story. Yeah, it says the couple with Down syndrome have proved doubters wrong after 22 years of wedding bliss and a huge Facebook following of people inspired by their heartwarming story. So it's actually choking me up right now. So they got married very young, very cute young couple. Now they're 22 years later and still happily married. So I think that's very cool. I mean, that actually gives me hope for, just people in general, that there's some good people out there. And, it doesn't matter what, I guess, your disability is. You're not, like they say, you're not handy incapable, or whatever it was, you're handy capable. So if you're not handicapped, you're handy capable. And this actually just proves this point. This couple, they both had Down syndrome, and they've been happily married for, again, 22 years. That's incredible. That's better than most marriages last nowadays at all. God, they don't even last like 4 years. So they passed the 7-year itch and everything else. So that's really cool. So read that one from the New York Post. Again, look for the story titled "Couple with Down Syndrome Celebrate 22 years of Marriage." So I'm getting down to end. Unfortunately, this next story, I did put on my Facebook page. It's not what I agree with, but it was this young girl. She looks a lot older because she's, kind of well, and I don't know. She's pretty well a full-figured gal. Anyway, she got pissed off because they had taken her nude pictures off of Facebook. Heaven forbid, protesting Trump. And it was one of these young girls, I think she's 19 or something, and was protesting, she was 19, protesting about you can't grab my pussy kind of deal. It's like, you know what? You are a goofball, you're crazy, you're nuts, and you're making a fool out of yourself. She literally had posted nude pictures of herself. Nothing on. No underwear, no bra, nothing. And she's now mad because they had taken her pages. I think her Facebook still may be there. It says, warning, nudity. Emma, it looks like Dyson, but it's Dyson, 19, insists the model keeps all important areas covered and therefore adhered to the social media site nudity policy. So she basically puts medical tape in X's or crosses over, it looks like, over her breast and stuff. But they still had taken the pictures down. I mean, it's a protester, and it's like, yeah, but social media is not the place, and I'm just so over the fact that women really think, because my friend Matt, you really think that, I think this is going on, but you don't know to what extent. Maybe I don't even know, because it's a larger extent. Actually, it is a pretty small extent, but these people are just, need to grow up. It's not even that they're nuts, or just, I go back to that girl that I mentioned before, the woman who's really hot. It's people like this girl here, when she was a kid, her parents should have really disciplined her. And, not in a sexual way, but should have really given her a smack on the ass, like spanked her. It's not even funny. I'm not trying to make a joke out of like Sternwood. I'm being totally dead honest, serious. Like, people like that need a smack on the back of the ass, or a smack on the back of the head, or the back of the shoulder, or something. One smack or a belt. Like when we grew up, we used, I didn't get it, but I've known kids that did. Would get a belt. And you learned your lesson. Once you got belted by your parents, I guarantee you never, did that again. You basically learned your lesson. It was like, okay, when you saw your parents, when you knew you did something wrong, you didn't do it again. You just never did it ever again, because you knew what would happen. The consequences was not pretty. So the only way you stop things like that, folks, is by making sure that you give them the heads up. Hey, giving them the stern eye, or that evil eye look is not going to stop them at all. It's going to make them want to do it again, if anything. So that is my what do you call it? That is my niche on things. So, you know what? I really don't have much to talk about at this point. I think I said everything. I'm actually over my hour. So other than that, folks, again, I don't have too much else to say. But again, people need to also kind of grow up, the ones who don't know how to. I find it actually, I'll say this as a last note, maybe, I hope. But I found this to be true. Like, these people who, are protesters, act very childish and stuff, generally are the people who are the ones who, don't believe in marriage, but yet they get married, are vegans, but they're hypocrites in other ways. Like, oh, I don't believe in animal cruelty, but yet they wouldn't think twice if it was a sexual assault of a kid or having an abortion at 9 months or 8 months, past, basically, past your trimester. I mean, that stuff's okay, though. Or, collecting food stamps or not working, or let illegals in the country, or letting all these migrants in the country that are raping women and stuff. That's okay because they're just misunderstood. These are the same people who, and it goes even further because I mentioned this to a friend on a voicemail. I never hear back about the stuff I mentioned, and this is another thing. And you're saying, well, Walter, you're being a hypocrite, but I'll say this real quick. But there's also like these people who are practicing Christians and stuff, and I have nothing against Christianity. I'm considering myself a conservative, but I'm not like one of these Bible-beaten conservative Republicans. I don't see any need for it, so I am definitely not one of them. But because we have a neighbor next door, she goes to church literally every single day. She's like Miss Christian and stuff, and yet I can't take her seriously because she constantly is under fear that we are stalking her, so she keeps all her shades closed. And like literally, if she sees me pull up, or my father or my mother my mom doesn't drive anymore, pull up our cars, she'll quickly pull the shades across. But yet she's, what is Christianity about? True Christianity: love thy neighbor as you love love thy neighbor as I love thyself. So you don't find any ridicule or any what do you call it? You don't I can't even think. You don't look down upon your fellow Christians or fellow mankind, but yet she does. She really does. And you're saying, well, Walter, you're probably just exaggerating this stuff. Well, no, actually, my father and my mother have complained about how she's been very rude, very obnoxious, very curt. But, she's a practicing Christian. She goes to church every day, and probably takes communion every day. But, there are people I put in the same conglomeration as I do these left-winged wackos. So I think even Rush does this. At that point is when you say, you kind of like, as much as I don't agree with the left at all, I'd rather consider myself a conservative as opposed to being a Republican. I consider myself more conservative than anything else. There's that, and there's something else on that line I was going to mention too. So I mean, hey, believe it or not, I'm not being hypocritical. I'm just being totally honest that it's not just it's both sides that have their issues. I think it sways more towards the left having more problems and more victimization than the right does. But there is those problems that I won't hesitate to complain about. Like, I'm not one of these Democrats that are going to say, hey, I agree with everything on the Democrat side, no matter how wrong it may be. If there's something wrong with the Republican side, I'm going to mention it. And that's one of the things I do have a problem with. People that, I'm so Christian, everything like that. And but yet you basically treat people like dog shit. I have no time for you at all. And unfortunately, it's a next door neighbor. There's something else that also bothers me with people, but that's like one of them that really kind of bothers me a lot. And anyway, I should probably call this a night, our show for the week. But just taking consideration, I hold no prisoners. Doesn't matter what side you're on. I noticed, by the way, there's been a lot of articles because now Trump has shot that down. Thank goodness, about the transgender bathrooms. And it's like, you know what? I am totally for that, that there should not be transgender bathrooms. And what he basically did, and Rush talked about this on Friday, he basically put it where it belongs, and this is what's pissing off the social media and the left and everybody else. He had taken out of the hands of the government, and he placed it back into the state to take care of that problem. If you want to have bathrooms that are set up for transgender, because I know, what do you call it, the she-male that was once known as Bruce Jenner, and some other articles that I just saw on Facebook. Trump is basically trying to take the power away from government and put it back where it belongs, and put it in the back into the people's hands. And that's what's pissing people off. Like with healthcare, there's going to be so much he can do with that, but he wants to put healthcare, the issues with the illegal immigrants, the issues with the job situation, the situation with this political correctness. He wants to take it out of the responsibility of the government's hands and place it back where it belongs, which is in our hands, the people's choice, the people's hands. So if you have a problem with that, the problem is not with Trump. It's actually it's with you, yourself. So you got to remember that. Anyway, okay, I went over past an hour. Now it's 15 minutes past the hour. So, folks, thanks again for listening to me if you do. And, try to get other people, or try to give me a chance. So thanks again. Have a good night. It's a little after 8 o'clock for me. So I will put the show up as soon as possible. This is Walter Interante from iWalter, signing off for now.